The second question is from Aisha Salah. And she says, I'm debating with my husband about the above issue. What's the Islamic judgment about killing non-Muslim people because of offending the Prophet ﷺ? What's the ruling on attacking embassy staff for representing the USA, which allows YouTube to broadcast offending videos about the Prophet ﷺ? First of all, we have to know that you cannot be a Muslim without having the compassion, the affection to protect and defend the Prophet ﷺ from any negative or anything that is not suitable to be said against him ﷺ. You're not a Muslim. However, you cannot express this by doing un-Islamic things. First of all, this film that was finally now they know, it's known that it was produced by Coptic Christians in America for the mere political intention to stir up problems in the Muslim world, especially in Egypt, and to undermine the government of the newly elected Muslim President Muhammad Morsi. So this is their aim. Everybody talks about it. And we know that the USA as a government, and I'm not defending them, I don't have any relationship to them. On the contrary, I criticize a lot of their policies and a lot of their wrongdoings, such as the drone attacks that go unquestioned, and no one can do the same to them. They have the upper power and they have the ultimate supreme power to do whatever they like unquestioned. No one agrees with this. No one agrees with their military missions and their war against Muslim countries. Nobody agrees to that. However, we are told in the Quran to be just and fair. So the US government has nothing to do with it. Now imagine if a group of Saudis did a movie criticizing or ridiculing or talking negatively about the Coptic Christians in Egypt. Now, is it fair to say that all Saudis are involved and we have to kill them and we have to burn their embassies and we have to do this and that? They are people who are unknown. We don't know anything of them. Likewise with this film. And let's assume that this film, though it's there and existing, does this harm our Prophet ﷺ by any chance? Akhi, Allah Azza wa Jal has exalted the name of the Prophet ﷺ. وَرَفَعْنَا لَكَ ذِكْرَكَ. We have exalted your mentioning everywhere in the world. Not a minute passes without the name of the Prophet ﷺ is mentioned with the name of Allah throughout the adhan, the call for prayer, throughout the whole entire universe, even in Alaska. There is people who are Muslim and they're calling the adhan and mentioning the name of the Prophet ﷺ. So, no matter what they do, his name is exalted. His name is high. His mentioning is above all. Not only that, the more they criticize the Prophet ﷺ, the more people are invited to study his biography, his seerah, and to know what his life was like, and to see the effect of his da'wah, the effect of his call and message upon the whole of this universe. So, it's not going to stop. It started long ago when the kafir were there, when the hypocrites were there. They tarnished his reputation. They slandered his wife at his time. Yet he did not order anyone to be killed. Now look at what the people are doing in Libya and in Egypt and in everywhere, thinking that they're defending the Prophet ﷺ. By Allah, they're not defending the Prophet ﷺ. They may have good intention and enthusiasm, but when interpreted, when depicted and illustrated in such violence, in such demonstrations, this becomes un-Islamic. And they will say, we initially wanted to have a peaceful demonstration. Peaceful demonstration is not part of Islam. If you get 100,000 peaceful demonstrators protesting and just marching in the streets, it needs only 10 of the hooligans, of the hypocrites, to infiltrate them and do acts of violence, and it ends up bloody and messy. Is this what Islam calls for? No. So one says, how can we defend the Prophet ﷺ? The Prophet doesn't need your defense. When Ammar ibn Yasir, may Allah be pleased with him, and with his mother and father, the companion of the Prophet ﷺ, came once to the Prophet crying. And the Prophet said, what happened? He said, the idol worshippers kept on torturing me until I cursed you and said bad things about you. And he's crying and weeping. So the Prophet asked him one question, how do you find your heart? And Ammar said, by Allah, I find it resting with Iman and steadfast on my belief on Islam. The Prophet told him, ﷺ, if they go back to torturing you, go back to talking negatively and saying bad things about me. So the Prophet ﷺ allowed Ammar to do this. Now, if you analyze this logically, one or two people producing such a filthy and worthless clip, and by the way, it was launched in July, not in the end of September, but it is politically motivated. A handful of people who did something like this, 2 months, and it had like 5 or 6 hits on YouTube. All of a sudden, when you do these protests and when you demonstrate and you do this killing and violence, it has millions of hits. Who's advocating it? Who's marketing it? It's you, the hooligans, the mob, who are doing things that are not controlled by the Quran, Sunnah, nor by the scholars. Had they gone to any of the scholars of Islam asking them for an opinion? No, they did not. Why? Because they consider these mobs, these hooligans, they are Khawarij, probably, or they're ignorant. They consider the scholars to be petrodollar scholars, as they call us. Why? Because they don't say what the people want to hear. And the scholars, like Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen explains and describes, are 3 types. A scholar of the country, of the government. He says what the government wants to hear. And a scholar of the ummah, in the sense that whatever the majority wants to hear from the people, he has no problem in saying halal or haram. And none of those are real scholars. And the third type is the scholar of al-millah, of the religion, who says what pleases Allah and no one else but Allah Azza wa Jal. So I tell Sister Aisha Salah that what had happened is unfortunate, is un-Islamic, it has to be condemned without any questioning, as we condemn the producers of this clip and those who collaborate with them and those who allow it to be published, like YouTube. YouTube is a kafir form of organization or corporation. They care less about our religion. They say that this is freedom of speech, and all those who advocate and defend this clip, they say that it is freedom of speech. Well, I'll give you a piece of my mind. Are you okay as freedom of speech if I make a film about the Holocaust saying that it's a myth and not a single Jew died? Or, furthermore, if I say that it was a good thing and bad for Hitler that he did not complete the job, this is freedom of speech. I'm speaking my mind. How would you feel if I speak up my mind and say that this terrorist attack or this killing or this assassination is legitimate in Islam, for example, and nothing is legitimate as such, but I'm hypothetically asking, is this freedom of speech allowed in your country? You would say no. If you don't have any honor or any dignity, to the extent that if someone curses Jesus Christ, who you believe in, and you have no problem, freedom of speech. If someone criticizes your mother or slanders your mother or your sister or your wife, you have no problem with that. It's freedom of speech. If you have no dignity, Muslims do. And they highly respect their Prophet ﷺ. So I ask those who allow these actions to take place to reconsider. And to the Muslims, how to protect your reputation of the Prophet ﷺ, you should highlight his biography in Seerah. publish books, make TV programs, enlighten people with his beautiful work and his beautiful religion. And this is being done by a lot of the Islamic centers worldwide, alhamdulillah. If you see that they are consistent in doing such acts, you may hurt them or you may hit them where it hurts most, and that is the economy. So don't go to their country. Don't spend your dollars there. Take away your children and put them in other countries where they can get a suitable and good education, whether it's university or whatever. Boycott their products. There are other alternatives. And make this public to everyone. I'm not going to buy this or that because it is originating from that country that is insulting our Prophet ﷺ. And this should not be on the individual level. It should be also on the level of the governments, if the governments are abiding by the rule of Allah Azza wa Jal and they're trying to defend the reputation of the Prophet alayhi as-salatu was-salam.